Good morning, I am Tracy Spence with your newscast. This newscast is brought to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join the living. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, a key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. And Cruising with a Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 8:30 a.m. on Saturdays 7 p.m. and at 12 noon on Sundays. Now for the news in details. Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced plans by his administration to provide more than $14 billion in support for business, tourism interests, and farmers over the next 3 years. This, Holness says, will form part of ongoing financial support to assist in ensuring that the operators of entities in these sectors, and by extension the wider country, are able to recover from the economic impact caused by the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister made the announcement during a ceremony at King's House yesterday, where he was sworn in to serve for a second consecutive term. Holness said the funding provisions will include $10 million in loan grants to support micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises (MSMEs), $3 billion in agri-care support to farmers and fisherfolks, $1.2 billion in grants to small and medium-sized tourism operators to be deployed through the Exim Bank, and $500 million in grants for micro and small community-based businesses. Jamaica's Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, is arguing for an amendment to the section of the Representation of the People Act which speaks to the authority of a returning officer if there is a tie on a final count for a seat. Mr. Brown wants it to state clearly the options of the returning officer for casting a ballot. The issue has arisen following Saturday's recount in Westmoreland Eastern, when the Jamaica Labour Party and the People's National Party candidates scored a tie. The returning officer, in casting a ballot, picked the People's National Party's Luther Buchanan from a blind draw on Sunday. Attorney General Marlene Malahoo Fort has disagreed with the method used by the returning officer to select the winning candidate. Speaking Monday on a current affairs program, the Director of Elections stated that the returning officer chose the method for casting his ballot as the Representation of the People Act did not define the process. Mr. Brown suggested the Representation of the People Act should be amended to take some of the burden off the returning officer or make the law more clear in terms of the process to be followed. Meanwhile, a police probe has revealed that a permit was granted for the staging of Usain Bolt's birthday party, which was held on August 21st at Football Factory on Shortwood Road in St. Andrew. Assistant Commissioner of Police Anthony McLaughlin on Monday told reporters that the permit was granted by the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation. Bolt tested positive for COVID-19 days after the event. ACP McLaughlin said he is awaiting a response from the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency PICA to determine whether international footballers Leon Bailey and Raheem Sterling were in breach of the 14-day mandatory quarantine order. Finally, Guyana's ruling People's Progressive Party Civic, PPC, yesterday said it was committed to easing racial tension in the country and appealed to citizens to do everything possible to follow its lead. President Ali said race conflict is a very important issue not only for his new government but for all Guyanese. He argued that traditional media had a role to play in ensuring racial harmony while being critical of social media in that regard. He said that how they captured a headline can be a difference in how people react. He said having received more than 1,000 Facebook posts directed at him following the brutal murders of 2 men over the weekend. Police have since said 3 people are assisting their investigations, and former President David Granger, on a visit to the families of the 2 men yesterday, acknowledged that for the last 5 years they have struggled to build social cohesion and struggled to treat everybody equally. Vice President Barrett Jagdeo, meanwhile, blamed the previous administration for festering the race issues, saying that a lot of unhealthy extreme statements were being made by many individuals. And that is it for the news. This newscast came to you courtesy of BioLife Energy Systems. Come join the living. Call them at 800-875-5433. USA Credit Repair, a key to beautiful credit. You may call them at 800-786-1330. And Cruising with a Case Handler, a show on personal injury and immigration, weekdays 8:30 a.m. on Saturdays 7 p.m. and 12 noon on Sundays. On behalf of the news and production team, I am Tracy Spence. Do have a good morning.